I think that's it. I think we're live. So, people will join in the longer we're live. Usually it takes a couple of minutes for folks to come along and say hello. But for anybody who is already watching, we've just gone live, and I'm here with Natalie Fairbrook, and I'm so excited, Natalie, to be talking with you live. We've been emailing a lot, and we've been following each other on Instagram, and we met, and it's just so great to see you. And for those who haven't seen, Natalie shared her story on the blog, and it is letting me post that right now. So I'm going to post that in the comments. She shared her story on the blog yesterday, and we're going to talk about a few of the things that Natalie shared in her story. She's 44. She lives in California, and she's in recovery from alcohol addiction and has been sober since August 31st, 2015. So hi, Natalie. Thank you so much for joining me for the live. How was your day?
So good. So good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here and being able to share on this Facebook Live. So thank you very much. Yeah, it's a great day. I mean, it started with that beautiful blood moon eclipse at 5 o'clock this morning. So that was pretty cool. Did you see it?
No, I'm not a morning person. This is what I miss when I don't get up. I am not as much of a morning person as I should be, but I think that's going to change because we are bringing home a new puppy in a few weeks, and I think he's going to have me up a lot earlier. I'm lucky. My husband's a morning person, so he takes kind of the first shift, and I wake up slowly, and then I end up being the one who stays up later at night, making sure everything's ready for us to shut the house down before everyone goes to bed.
Awesome.
So, yeah, but I would have loved to have seen that. So I gotta get better about that stuff.
We are early morning walkers. We go and walk early, so we saw it. So it was kind of nice. Yeah.
Oh, that must have been amazing.
You get so much conversation done and your day planned and everything by getting up early. But I have not always been a morning person. That's new in the last few years. So
yeah, I've gone in waves, and I do like it when I am a morning person. I think I tend to forget how much I like it, and then I have to change things up a bit and remember that I do.
It's definitely harder when it's cold. Definitely harder when it's cold.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Have to really try hard.
So do you get a lot of seasons where you are in California? Do you get a winter?
Yeah, I mean, it's cold. So like this morning it was like 35.
Okay.
So not super cold. I mean, not warm either. So it's not too bad. No snow where we are. So.
Do you ever get it?
No. Like once every 10 years we get like a sprinkle, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had an interesting winter. We've had some super cold days and some good sized snowfalls. So, but I still don't mind it. I'm not ready to give it up yet. So, yeah, I don't see that anyone else has joined us yet. But that's okay, because people can play this back. Actually, it says we do have 2 viewers. They just haven't revealed who they are yet. So hi to whoever's watching. And we had a bunch of stuff we wanted to talk about, and I try not to let these go too much longer than 30 minutes. So why don't we jump right in? And I think the first thing that I was hoping you could share with everyone, because your story is so powerful, is how your life has changed since you got sober, because it's been about 2.5 years now, and that's quite a while. That's an awesome long time.
Yeah, it's wow. So many changes. I'm woke again. Like I missed so many things. So many things fell by the wayside when I was drinking. Things that I loved and was passionate about. Reading. I mean, I read so many books, and, my dad instilled in us in a very young age about reading, and he had enough books to open a bookstore and had read all of them. And so when I was drinking, I would go to bed and maybe try and read a couple of pages of a book and never remember what it was about. Or, I would read magazines. Like that was the extent of my reading. And so having reading back in my life has just been beautiful. I read all the books. I'm probably at any given time reading 3 or 4 books at a time. I don't know if you do that as well. It's kind of, in talking to different groups and women in sobriety, so many of my friends say the same thing. They're like, oh, I have like 6 books going at any given time,
Which I actually find amazing. I absolutely admire your ability to do that, because even though I am kind of the queen of multitasking and I do it in my daily life for work and family and everything else, when I pick up a book, I am focused on just that one book, and I tend to binge read. If I pick something up, I'm reading it until the end.
Yeah.
And everybody knows, don't bother mom. She's reading.
Oh, I love that. Everyone just knows. Yeah. Quiet here. Yeah. I'm not saying that's a good thing to have so many books going at one time. I definitely have a lot of started books that I haven't finished, but I kind of get like you as well. If I find one that I love and can't put down, I'll read it in 2 days kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, just, reading and being creative. And, my husband and I laugh because he would always say to me, well, you don't have any hobbies. And I was like, well, what do you mean? So drinking wine, sitting on the patio and playing Yahtzee or Candy Crush on my phone is not, that's not a hobby. What do you mean by that? Because he has lots of hobbies, and he used to just find it so funny that I didn't have any hobbies. And that was just because, I was just kind of stuck drinking, and my hobbies went away. And so now I have all the hobbies and the reading, and, we'll talk about a little bit later, yoga teacher training and coaching. And so those aren't necessarily hobbies, but they're keeping me very busy. And, just being creative and creating gratitude lists. I'm in a gratitude circle, and that's just beautiful. It's such a beautiful practice. And so different things like that, all of those things that I never took time for because I was hungover or feeling shameful because I had said something stupid the night before or done something stupid, or, just all of that. It took up so much room in my brain all the time, when I was going to drink, how I was going to drink, who I was going to drink with. I never realized it until I put it down, how much time it ate of my life.
I was the same way and to see how much more I could get done, not just because I wasn't impaired, but because I wasn't busy planning my drinking. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, I have so much free time now. I can get so much more done in the day. So it was quite an eye opener for me as well. I don't know if you can see the comments, but Dawn.
I just saw Dawn.
Hearts.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi, Dawn. Hearts back to you. Yeah, and one thing that I just wanted to mention, because it got me in my heart when you talked about your dad's books, and the fact that you've gotten back into reading, and what a beautiful tribute to him, now that you've got that back in your life. So I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, definitely. He would appreciate it, I know.
Yeah, and you know what? He does. So I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
So then those are huge changes, obviously, and it's Tammy's Gratitude Tribe, right? That you're
yeah. So Tammy's Gratitude Tribe was like an offshoot that she started in November, and then everyone started doing the tagging. But I'm actually in a group with Tammy, and we kind of fluctuate, like 6 or 7 of us. And we have been in a gratitude circle together for a year and some. And we used to trade via email, and now we have our own little Facebook page and we trade. And so some people draw and do art. Other people just type up their gratitude list, and we just kind of pop in and out. And I find that when I'm not doing it, I really can feel it. I notice the difference when I'm not doing it. So yeah, if somebody had told me I was going to be in a gratitude circle when I was drinking, I'd have been like, oh, that's so cheesy, And now it's amazing how many things you can find to be grateful for outside of, when you first start, it's like, okay, food or whatever. And then it's really interesting to dig down and really get into things that are so meaningful that you don't realize. And also finding really terrible things that you can then in turn be grateful that you were sober to deal with, or, situations. And so that it's not all just rainbows and butterflies. You can be grateful for the real crap stuff too.
Exactly. And that's something that I've done a lot of focusing on as well. I haven't gotten deeply into a gratitude practice the way I know you have. I kind of sit in awe of all the beautiful creative gratitude lists that Tammy and so many others are posting on Instagram. And I just go, oh my gosh, mine would never look like that. And I tried once and it didn't look very good. But I really liked the practice of writing it down. I'm more of I'll roll through it in my head at the end of the day, but I'm not putting it down on paper. And I know that can totally change the game for me, because it is finding the silver lining in a tough experience, or being grateful for having that tough experience and dealing with it the way you can in sobriety, as opposed to how you would have a couple of years ago, because I've definitely had those moments as well. So I think that's a really powerful thing to be doing in recovery.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a beautiful shift to look at things differently. And you really do. You look at things so differently from the time you open your eyes. You really do. So I really would just say, if you have the opportunity, write 3 things down at the end of the day, or at the beginning of the day, or whenever, or in the middle of your day, and just start. It could be one thing. But it's amazing the things you can come up with once you've been doing the practice for a while.
Exactly. That's what I've heard folks say, is that, it gets easier to find more and more things to add to the list the longer you stick with it. So Dawn is actually asking, what is a gratitude circle? Do you want to talk a little bit more about how that works?
It's just a group of women. Tammy actually connected us. And so there's a handful of us. And I know lots of women that have done sort of an offshoot just with the idea of it. And so you just all trade gratitude list each day. And it can be a blurb of 3 sentences. Sometimes I write 7 paragraphs. I mean, it really is just where I am in my head, or in my life, or in my family situation. And same goes for all of the women. And some do artwork that goes with it. So it really just depends. It depends what you're in the mood for. And so on Instagram, if you're on Instagram, Dawn, there's a hashtag Tammy's Gratitude Tribe, and you can look that hashtag up and you can see some of that's a bigger offshoot of the gratitude circle that I'm in. But you can see some ideas on what that looks like. It's pretty cool.
And I'm typing that into the comments right now. Tammy's Gratitude Tribe on Instagram, just for anyone who watches back later. Did I spell it right? Yep.
Yeah.
Gratitude Tribe. So that's there. Yeah. Search that hashtag on Instagram, and the things that you'll see are just beautiful, so inspirational. And as I said, I feel like I'm not creative enough to do it, but I know that's just a terrible excuse on my part, to be honest with you, because you don't have to do it in a creative, colorful, artistic way. You can just list it out. So I'm glad we talked about this, because it wasn't really on our list of things to talk about, but I think it's huge, and I think it is so good for because when we're drinking, we're not in the present moment.
No, not at all.
And it's just when we get sober and when we work on our recovery, we're so much more in the present. And that's is a huge part of it. I know for all of us is to live in the moment, it's the one day at a time piece of this, and finding those things to lift you up through every day. Especially in the hard days, when you feel like, holy cow, why'd I ever give up drinking? Because boy, could I really use one right now, right? So having a gratitude practice as one of your tools, I think is huge. So And you said
Absolutely.
it so much better than I did.
Oh,
It's been a
thanks.
long day. It's been a really long day. Um, so another thing that we had said we would want to talk about it, and this is kind of a perfect segue, is facing your stuff now that you're
Oh,
sober instead of drinking at it. And I love the way you put it, drinking at it. Some of us will call it numbing out, or I always called it. My drinking for me was coming up for air. I always felt like I'm drowning. I just need air. Let me sit back and have a drink so I can come up for air. But I like how you refer to it as drinking at your stuff. And I was interested to hear more from you about what you do instead of drinking at your stuff.
well, you know, it varies from day to day, right? Because nothing, like I said, nothing is all rainbows and sunshine. I mean, the whole sobriety thing, I was texting with a friend today, another friend in recovery, and we were talking about, so around 7 months sober, I felt like I was walking around without my skin because I just was so angsty. Like the pink cloud had started to wear off, and it was like, holy shit, this is my new reality. This isn't just, oh my God, it's so fun. I don't drink anymore. I'm so shiny now. It was like, oh my God, I don't have a way to escape when I have the ugly voices, or the ex-husband, or the kids are driving me nuts today, or whatever the case might be. And I literally have like a little toolbox. Like I carry a big tote bag, and I have these little toolbox, and it has like I have a malachite crystal that I can, like a calming stone, I rub in my hand, and I have essential oils, and I have all the tea. Like I just need to make sure I always, have tea bags with me. Everybody
Yeah.
has hot water. You can always find hot water somewhere. You have this arsenal of things. I always have friends on standby if I'm going to a party or something that like I can text. And so, in terms of that toolbox, I also utilize that for when I'm having a really hard time. It's there's days when you don't want to feel any of it. And so one of my biggest ways of dealing is yoga. I mean, the days that I don't want to go to the yoga are the days that I need to get my butt on my mat and quiet the brain, quiet all the stuff, all the noise from outside. And so, just finding tools, just finding things that help me not reach for a bottle of wine or a glass of wine. They're replacements. And, I have a big problem now with sugar because it's like this whack-a-mole. And, the struggle is real for sure. Anybody that's in sobriety knows that many times you put one thing down and you reach for something else, and that's hard. And so trying to balance that. Okay, so I eat sugar, but I try to eat dark chocolate and not Reese's peanut butter cups. You know what I mean? Like trying to just figure out that, okay, I'm going to walk around and be 10 pounds heavier than I have been in the past, but boy, I'm strong because I do a lot of yoga. You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
like just figuring out how to just work through it without wanting to have a drink or being compelled to reach for a drink, finding something else. And not necessarily a replacement. That wasn't probably the right word, just something that helps soothe that, you know?
Right, right. It was for me, why was I drinking? And then I say that to people. I'm like, what's your why? Why are
Yeah.
you reaching for the glass of wine or the beer or the whatever it might be? What do you think it's going to give you?
Yeah.
And how can you give yourself what you think it's giving you in a different way?
Sure.
And for me, it was always slowing down because I was always going a million miles an hour. I needed to decompress. And it was getting my brain to slow down enough that maybe I could actually piece a few good thoughts together without being all over the place all the time. Um, so a lot of it for me is still sitting with a drink in my hand, but not with a drink that's going to mess with my head even more than all of my thoughts and craziness already was. And it is now the breath of air that I thought it was, because I'll have a little something in a wine glass or a mug of tea. Um, but then along with that is also just a whole lot of self-care and self-love throughout
Yeah.
the day, so that often at the end of the day, I don't feel as great a need to go, oh, holy cow, because I've taken some deep breaths all along the way and not let it all built up to an unmanageable place at the end of the day. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's if you're trying to just white knuckle, right? If you're just trying
yeah.
to white knuckle through it, at some point you're gonna break, and that's when relapse happens. That's when, when you don't have these tools in place. Sometimes it's just I get in my car and I turn up the music as loud as I can get it and I scream and I
Mm-hmm.
yell. And people probably are looking at me like this lady's freaking crazy, But it's like, you just find things that just release that tension that about, because I say a glass of wine and that's hilarious. It was never a glass of wine. It was always a bottle of wine. And then, oh, well, maybe I'll open another one just, and then it's two bottles, it never was one glass. So it's so funny when someone says, I'm going to have a glass of wine to blow off some steam. And I'm like, well, that's why I had a problem. It was never, ever a glass,
Right.
ever.
Right.
Or if it was, the glass was.
Right. The big one that the whole bottle fits into.
All right.
So, yeah. Yeah. Sasha says hello. Hello, Sasha. And we missed earlier. I'm sorry. Christy said she loves us, and we love you too, Christy. I don't know you, but I love you. Thank you for being here. This is fun. I love that there are comments. This is super. So, very, very cool. Going back to the other screen to see what was next on our list.
That's okay.
Oh, this is what I'm really excited to hear you talk about too, is the role of yoga teacher and recovery coach training in your recovery, because I'm so excited about the work that you're doing.
Yes. So, wow. So yoga is just, I had done Bikram yoga a handful of times before getting sober. And I used to do like boot camps and all that. Like it was a way of beating myself up on my lunch break for being hungover. I always did like the ego-based crazy boot camps and stuff like that. And so it had never occurred to me to do yoga. And so I got sober on August 31st, and on September 2nd, I thought I have to do something because I was walking like only way I can explain it was like Forrest Gump, like literally just walking for miles. We used to live on this big hill and I'd walk up and over the hill and back over. I mean, I was probably clocking 5 or 6 miles a day. And then I found yoga. And so then I was going to yoga sometimes twice a day. And probably one of my biggest saviors was I think it was 4:30 p.m. on Fridays. There was always a power yoga class. And that was like happy hour. That was the time. I think it was at 4:00 actually. And that was the time that I would have sometimes already been a few drinks in. But, that was the place that I went, and I knew it was safe. And I knew when I came out of there, I would never even consider putting something bad in my body because I had just done this beautiful practice, And so it was my AA. It was my way of having some place to go and have community because, a lot of my friends went away when I stopped drinking. I should say probably almost all of my friends went away when I stopped drinking. And we realized, I guess on some level, that we had nothing really in common at that point. I don't know. It just kind of faded. And so finding that community that I was so desperate for was also played a big part. And so, my hope is to finish teacher training and teach recovery yoga because there's such a need for it. And there isn't anything like that in our area. Last June, I took Y12SR training, which is yoga 12-step recovery training. And so that's basically holding space and having pretty much an AA meeting and then doing yoga. And you have to get certified to do that. It's an actual specialty program. And so I'm certified in that already. And so now I'm just doing my 200-hour Yoga Alliance yoga teacher training.
Oh my gosh. So 200 hours with that, plus are you doing the 80 or the 100 for the Because you're doing the coaching too.
I'm doing the 100-hour for the coaching, recovery coaching.
Okay.
And then 200-hour yoga teacher training. So a little busy, and I have a full-time job, and I have 3 kids, and I'm a grandma. So it's a little busy.
Oh my gosh. But it's so amazing, you know. I mean, I look at the wedding photo of you. So, you know, for anybody who's here, that's the photo that I put when I put the event on the Facebook page. And that just, my heart when I look at that and I think about, you know, I think because that was last
April.
Oh, it was last April. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So Aaron and I have been together almost 5 years. And so in June, or in August, I don't know what the date is, but this year we will have been together with me sober longer than drinking. So that's
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to have that with my husband. I don't know. I haven't counted out the years. I don't think that happens.
Yeah. You never know. Yeah.
But that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of, you know, it's kind of exciting to get to that place for sure, you know, to just be a different person, really. So I think he's watching. And so thank you, darling, for sticking by me, because I was kind of a pill.
I think he's watching too, because he commented a little while back that you rock.
Nice.
So, yeah. Thanks. She does rock.
Yeah. Yeah. So the yoga teacher training I'm in the midst of now, we just had our first weekend. And so it's just huge, you know, I mean, it's Baptiste yoga teacher training. And so a very big portion of it is inquiry. And so, you know, it's meditation, inquiry, and asana. And so, which is movement. And so we've already dug so deep. I mean, we were practice teaching on day 1. So it's going to be really cool to see how it unfolds. And, you know, so again, one more tool in my toolbox of things to help me stay sober every day when I wake up.
Yeah. I mean, you have done so much too. I mean, you've done all the things, to really dig deep in your recovery, and explore. And I mean, just not that we're not all serious about recovery, but I think, I feel like you've kind of taken it to a whole new level. In terms of, you know, touching a little bit of everything that's out there. They say, you know, we talk about how there are multiple pathways. And I think you've explored so many of them. Because you've also been involved with Holly Whitaker's Hip Sobriety School as well, which is something I'm not familiar with, other than to read about it on her website.
Yeah. So Hip Sobriety School was a huge game changer for me. I found Holly. I literally was getting ready to go to this Christmas party that had always been, for lack of a better word, a shit show. Okay. Yeah. And I was sober. When I only had a couple of months sobriety. So it was in December, and I Googled how to stay sober in a drunk world, and Holly's blog popped up, and that was it. It was like rabbit hole. I think I signed up for Hip Sobriety 2 days later, because I was like, oh my God, I found my person. I found this person that is like, I was just like, me too, me too, me too, everything she said. And, you know, if you go to her website, if you are sober or you're sober curious or any of those things, and you don't know about Holly, she's incredible, and she's such a teacher. And so she has this school called Hip Sobriety School, and it's an 8-week virtual course. And, you know, she teaches you all about the underlying causes of addiction. And so you can kind of start digging into why, because I mean, I think we all have a why. I think we all enjoy wine, but there's definitely a why as to why you drink at things or why you get to that place. Right. And then teaching you how to, you know, overcome cravings and yoga, Kundalini yoga and breath work and meditation, and just to help you break those habits and to help you navigate life in sobriety. And it's beautiful, and the community is amazing, and they have their own private Facebook group. And that's where I met my first sober sisters. And it was just like, oh my God, where have these people been my whole life? You know what I mean? Just, when you can find yourself in a group of people and everyone can say me too, and oh yeah, and understand you. It's so empowering and so beautiful and so I see why people go to AA if they don't have, there's such a beautiful online community, as we've all seen, and how we've all met and ended up at She Recovers. And, so I can understand why AA, because of the fellowship, and so the thing with hip sobriety school is you can take piecemeal. You can just do hip sobriety school. You could go to AA meetings and do your 12-step work. I have a sponsor and I am working on my 12 steps. I've sort of tabled it for the moment just because I have so much going on with everything else, but it is something that would bring so much value to understand more of, your emotional sobriety and what that looks like. And, being able to have some forgiveness and make amends for things that we're ashamed of, or, things that we did when we were drinking that until you do that work, they probably are just nagging at you and you don't even realize it.
Right. And it's interesting to hear you say that too, because that's work that I haven't officially done. I'll be completely honest. My emotions still terrify me to no end. And I I'm working more on the present emotions and making sure I can manage those. But I know there's still stuff in the past that I need to deal with.
Oh God. And that's everyone. Yeah. I think that's everyone is, it's like if everybody could do the inquiry of 12-step or yoga or meditation, I mean, it would be a happier world. People would have, a little bit of an easier time. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do all the things, but I suck at a lot of them. And I am like so humble that people say, that I inspire them in some way. Like that is mind blowing to me, because I just feel like a lot of times these are the things I'm doing just to breathe, to get through my day. You know what I mean? 12-step work, I'm terrified of. Being a yoga teacher, I'm terrified. So these are all, it's like, oh, it looks cool and it's so great, but don't misunderstand. I mean, I'm scared, and fear is my teacher every day. And fear is what puts a fire under my ass to do it, because I know that there's so much value. When I did the Y12SR teacher leadership training, Nikki Myers, who led it, you saw her at She Recovers. She's such a beautiful soul. I went up to her and I was talking to her about doing this work. And I was like, well, who do I think I am? And she said, how dare you not? How dare you not share this with the world and share this work? Because if it's in you and you want to do it, how dare you not do it? And that was just like, okay, I need to do this. You just sort of learn or figure out that it's inherently something that you want to do. And so I don't know, it's hard. There's nothing easy about any of it, but it's just so beautiful to have the gift of life to be able to do it,
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what I'm realizing too. As I find more and more women reaching out to me to say, hey, me too. I need to stop, and how, and what did you do? And can you help me? And I go, holy cow. I can talk to you forever about what I did. But there's so much that I didn't do that might serve you and might be good for you. And that's when I had the realization that I've got to get my butt into the recovery coach training as well. Because I'm being called to do that work, and it's in my heart. And this is a space that I want to live and breathe in every single day, not just when I can take a break from the work that I do that pays the bills.
I mean, absolutely. Right. I mean, that's ultimately my goal. Same thing, is to do the recovery coaching along with teaching recovery yoga and just all of the wellness parts. One of the big things that's been really interesting is figuring out how much of an empath I am. And I realized that I drank at that also. I had no idea what to do with all the feelings that I felt all the time. And, growing up, always just pushing it down and you're so emotional, stop crying, stop, and I just didn't know what to do with all of that. And so I now in sobriety, realizing that passion is so big and finding a place to use that with, with other women and being able to empower other women and help just being of service. I never knew that being of service was going to have such a big impact on my life. So I totally know what you mean. It's just like, I know that's what I'm supposed to do without a shadow of a doubt.
Right.
But then, just finding the parts and pieces to get to that place. It's hard. It's hard work, but it's such beautiful work.
Exactly. And I love that we're, almost right next to each other on this piece of the journey.
Yeah.
Because I admire you, and I'm so, I know you said the humbling when someone tells you they're inspired by you, but I am truly inspired by you every day. And,
thank you
I
so
just
much.
I think back to She Recovers in May, and, I wish that we had gotten to spend more time together in person there. And I'm excited to spend more time in person with you in the future. I walked into that hotel in New York City, not even ready to deal with how great it was going to be.
Yeah.
It's something that I've learned about myself since then, that I had no idea. I was absolutely terrified of all the amazing power in the room, where I should have just been embracing the opportunity to see so many people and to talk with so many people. But a lot of my recovery has been, behind the scenes and online, and not the real life connections. And that was absolutely terrifying for me.
Oh my God. Right. I know we laughed because leaving there, Tammy and I couldn't even talk. Like, just, we got on the plane and we were laughing on the way out because you could watch Kardashians like on demand. Tammy saw it. And I was like, oh my God, that's such crap. We can't watch that. And on the way home, at one point, we just look at each other and we're just staring at Kardashians, like practically drooling. It was just so overwhelmed at the connection. And, it was so beautiful. But yeah, it took so much out of you as a human, just all of that energy. And so I'm so stoked and so excited for She Recovers in LA, because it's kind of like this second opportunity, the things that you may have missed in New York, like if, to be able to just say, okay, this is something I'm going to do differently this time. You know what I mean? And to be able to have sort of a second shot at that's pretty cool.
And that's totally the way I'm looking at it too, as a second shot. I remember when some of us were first meeting and we're introducing each other by our Instagram handles, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, who's who? And and it was so confusing. And now, having had those months since to go back and get to know people more, again, behind the scenes online, but in preparation for the next time we get together in person, I feel like I'm ready now.
I know. I think I'm going to bring a label maker so we can just like print out everybody's Instagram handle and put it on their name badge.
I did mention to Dawn that we should do that, and I'm going to be catching up with her again soon, I think, and just say, hey, do you think that's a possibility for this time around? I mean, because like a swarm of people came up to me and they're like, hey, quit whining. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's weird.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. Well, and it's true, because you're like, oh my God. And then trying to remember, everybody has these beautiful stories. And then we feel like a dodo. I'm like, oh my God, trying to remember, okay, this person and their story. And so that's one thing is, all of us are probably stressing about that. And it's like, no, just remember someone's name. Their story is their story. They'll share it again. Everybody it's important to them,
Exactly. And I'm so excited. And I meant to check before we went live to see if the early bird had sold out or not.
I think there were only like 15 left, and that was like 5 days ago.
Yeah,
so I'm pretty sure
maybe it did.
Yeah.
But that, for anyone who's watching, who's interested, check out She Recovers Facebook page and pop over to their website, because this is not to be missed. Absolutely not to be missed.
Yeah, Cheryl Strayed, and Sarah Blondin. For those of you that meditate, she's like this meditation goddess. I actually wept openly when I heard that she was going to be there, and she
Oh,
just, oh, her words are so beautiful, and so yeah, it's gonna be amazing.
yeah, it really is. And Amy Dresner, who wrote My Fair Junkie. I don't know if you've read that one.
I have
Um,
it on my list.
that was one of the most recent ones I read. But again, cover to cover in one sitting, basically getting up to use the bathroom and make more tea, and that was it. So,
Right.
um,
I love it.
so yeah, so I'm really super excited for it, and really excited to see you live and in
I
person.
know. I
But we
know.
can do this anytime you want, because I'm
Yeah.
sure we could go on for hours and hours.
Absolutely. I know. I loved, and I just feel so honored. Thank you so much for having me be featured on your blog and doing this Facebook Live. It's just so awesome. I feel really,
Oh,
really honored. Thank you so much.
you're welcome so much, and I'm honored as well, to have you share your story, on the blog, because it is so powerful, and the work that you're doing is so important. And I think that, so much of what you said here and what you've, posted on Instagram are things that people can go, oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I get that. If she can do this, I can do this. And that's what this is all about. I think that that's why we're sharing our stories. That's why we're vocal in this space, because we know that there are others who need to hear what we've
Oh,
done, and gain whatever power they can from that, so that they can make some changes as well.
yeah, so much. The truth telling aspect of it is it's so freeing. I mean, when you can just come out and shout it from the rooftops, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. And you know, just be thoughtful about who's listening and who's watching, because people are. And I mean, I refer to my daughters a lot. They're watching, they're listening. I mean, we need to be helping our people see how deadly it really is, and that, it's all fun and games until it becomes your have to and not your want to. And that's when that's when it's scary. And for me, for a long time, it was a have to.
Yeah,
So, you know,
yeah, me
it's nice
too.
that
And
it's
it was,
not anymore.
yeah, and it was modeled for me growing up as a have to. So that's, when you say your daughters are watching, yeah, my kids are watching too, and I need to make sure that they see this in a completely different way than I viewed it when I was
Yeah.
their age.
Yeah.
They'll still ultimately make their choices, but as long as I can help them keep their eyes wide open, we'll be in good shape.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh. I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to talk about. We're coming up on actually 45 minutes.
I know we
Um,
went long. I appreciate it. There is one other She Recovers event that's coming up in a couple of
oh,
weeks in
that's
San
right.
Francisco, and it's called Sacred Pause. And so I think there's still some tickets left. You can go on the She Recovers page. I just thought I would plug that because it's going to be really cool. And Holly Whitaker is going to speak from Hip Sobriety, and Taryn's going to lead yoga, and there'll be a light lunch. It's like an all day thing. So if you're in the area or you can get into the area, there's a big contingent of us going. And so if you're interested in some real life action, that's a pretty cool place to go and meet up. It's going to be really fun.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I'm
Yeah,
definitely sad that I can't
I
be there,
know. I
because it
know.
sounds amazing, amazing, amazing. And doing yoga with Taryn is a pretty cool experience. My very first time doing yoga ever was at She Recovers in New York. Um,
I know.
on the
I didn't
second,
realize that. I didn't realize that. I mean, if you're going to do yoga for the first time, that's the place to do it. That was a
it
really epic practice.
they set the bar kind of high for everybody else, I think, but
Exactly. Yeah. So that was it. I just did want to mention that if anyone's going to be in the area at that time. That's February 17th.
I am so glad you did. And, anyone who didn't join us live can watch this on a replay.
Yeah.
And if we want to, we can even upload it to YouTube so people who aren't on Facebook can find it as well. Because I know a lot of folks who we interact with on Instagram don't do Facebook.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
We can make this available to them.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll do that.
that sounds great. Thank you so much, Laura. It was so awesome.
You're welcome, Natalie. It was great. Thank you for joining me. This was super fun.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining.
Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.